fourth chapter, the understanding of enlightenment. Now we are entering into the core of our discussion. It is as simple as one can see the sunlight. The only thing which we have to be careful is that we must be ready even to accept an ordinary thing to be a great one if it really deserves. Because the thing we are going to find out may look like an ordinary thing. We may not know the potentiality of it. In the previous chapter, we were discussing the conflict between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind and about the various ways of controlling the conflict. We have seen that the religious and spiritual practices are of much help for bringing order between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. We have also seen that such practices give us false hope that we can get total perfection through the practices. Now we are proceeding towards the next aspect, which is the way of understanding. What is understanding? What is the nature of its function? Let us once again consider the nature of conflict between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind has a theory of perfection. It wants to behave like a gentleman without having any bad qualities. But since the subconscious mind do not have any such theory of perfection, it functions in accordance with its own nature. Its nature may be crude, violent or adamant, along with some other good qualities. The subconscious mind does not act directly. It acts through the conscious mind. It makes the conscious mind violent or crude against the willingness of the conscious mind itself. Since the conscious mind happens to be the byproduct of the subconscious mind, it does not have any control over the subconscious mind. The conscious mind may try to modify it, suppress it or control it, but cannot succeed, and conflict goes on endlessly. We have already seen that the spiritual practices also will not provide us with total remedy. So we are looking for the other alternative by which we can get the complete success. Let us have a different question. What would happen if the conscious mind throws away the theory of perfection? What would happen if the conscious mind does not have any such theory? Let us think it for a moment. For example, the subconscious mind produces hatred. Then what will happen? The conscious mind becomes hatred itself without any effort to become love. When the subconscious mind produces anger, the conscious mind becomes anger itself without any effort to pacify it. What does it mean? The conscious mind does not have any separate and willful action apart from the action of the subconscious mind. If we accept our bad qualities as our own behavior, would it not lead us to an uncivilized life? Certainly we will discuss this aspect later, and let us ignore the question for the time being. When the subconscious mind produces a bad quality of consciousness, the conscious mind also receives the bad quality of consciousness without any protest, because the conscious mind does not have any theory against it. Now, what is our position? When there is anger, the conscious mind is in anger willfully. When there is hatred, we are willfully in hatred. We do not have any theory against it. When there is sorrow, we become sorrow itself without any theory of resistance. So, there is a flow of feelings from the subconscious mind to the conscious mind without any resistance. There is no conflict between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind functions as a servant of the subconscious mind. It functions as the obedient servant of the subconscious mind. Previously, it was agitating against its master. Now, there is no such agitation. It functions as an obedient servant of the master. One may think that he cannot be free from hatred unless one agitates against it. We may think that we cannot be free from anger unless we resist it. We may assume that we give undue opportunity for the development of anger and hatred when we do not resist their growth. We think it is the duty of every civilized person to become a perfect human being and that one must live with noble principles. We are not disputing it. We shall take a certain example to understand the nature of our mind. We have seen that our conscious mind has a theory of what good is and what bad is, and that it maintains such a list. We have taken the spiritual aspirant as a common example. Really, everybody is having a theory and a list according to one's taste. A spiritual aspirant may not like to have hatred in his mind. He may resist hatred and he may want to eliminate hatred from his mind. But in the case of sorrow, everybody, whether he is a spiritual aspirant or not, wants to eliminate sorrow from his mind. No one is willing to accept sorrow. Nobody wants to be in the state of sorrow. Everyone wants to get rid of sorrow. In that aspect, there is no difference between a spiritual aspirant and an average person. When the subconscious mind produces sorrow, the conscious mind wants to be free from it. It struggles for the removal of sorrow. What is the basic structure of the struggle? When the subconscious mind meets with an unwanted, undesirable incident, it reacts to that situation and produces sorrow or mental agony. The reaction is sorrow. The reaction is the conscious mind, but the reaction comes from the recess of our subconscious mind. We do not cause sorrow by our conscious effort. Sorrow comes inevitably from our subconscious mind. The spontaneous reaction with a situation is unconscious and unintentional, but our feeling of sorrow is conscious. We are consciously aware of our sorrow, our agony. So, our unconscious reaction is our sorrow. Our conscious feeling of it is our sorrow. What we are doing next is that we are resisting our sorrow. The resistance to sorrow is a reaction to reaction. It is a conscious reaction against an unconscious reaction. The unconscious reaction is our sorrow, and our conscious reaction is our resistance. The spiritual aspirant reacts with a theory, and so he fights against anger. He has a theory that he must be free from anger. In the same way, an ordinary layman also fights against his feeling of sorrow. He has a thought instead of a theory in mind that he must be free from sorrow. One must be free from his sorrow is also a theory in the layman's point of view. In the same way, everyone wants to be free from fear because it is very painful. So, Our subconscious mind reacts according to the situation. The conscious mind willfully reacts to the reaction of the subconscious mind. Actually, the conscious mind itself is the reaction of the subconscious mind. When the conscious mind creates a further reaction, it confirms the original reaction. We confirm sorrow if we react against sorrow. We confirm fear if we react against fear. When the subconscious mind creates sorrow, the conscious mind wants to negate it. Such negation is a negative reaction. In the same way, if the subconscious mind reacts and produces pleasure, the conscious mind wants to retain it and tries to enjoy it to the fullest extent. The willingness to retain it is a positive reaction. It is the nature of the conscious mind to have either positive or negative reaction in respect of the reactions produced by the subconscious mind. By our positive and negative reactions, we confirm the existence of the original reaction, which is the conscious mind itself. So, the conscious mind confirms itself by its positive and negative reactions. Thereby, we give strength to sorrow by our negative reaction to sorrow. The consciousness is a flow of feelings which originate from the subconscious mind. It flows as consciousness, then it fades away. Only because of our positive or negative assertion, we give life to the fading away consciousness. Otherwise, the consciousness that comes from the subconscious mind spontaneously will also fade away spontaneously. We need not do anything to eliminate it. We have to understand that this is a fact. So, we have to understand that we need not take any effort for the change of anything. It means that we have to accept our consciousness wholeheartedly. It means that there is no future state to attain. So, we must have this simple understanding that we should not expect anything other than the available consciousness. Now, what will happen to the conscious mind which does not react any further reaction against the reaction produced by the subconscious mind? Then, does any work or effort remain there on the part of the conscious mind? Whatever comes from the subconscious mind becomes the conscious mind itself. The subconscious mind flows as consciousness. There occurs the natural way of purification and transformation of the nature and structure of the subconscious mind itself. So, if the conscious mind functions without any longing for negation or retention of the consciousness, then we are entering into a new dimension of our mind. In that state, we will accept whatever comes as our natural consciousness, because we cannot do anything. It is the nature and the structure of our subconscious mind. Whatever comes would be according to the nature of our subconscious mind. Since we do not have any control over the subconscious mind, we have to accept whatever it produces. The control over it may be successful for the time being, but it is impossible at all times. When we are wholeheartedly prepared to accept our consciousness, the consciousness itself flows and fades away spontaneously. Now, let us ask a related question. Is there any state in the spiritual field that one should attain? Our meditational and yogic practices may produce many things to our conscious mind. They may last for a certain period. Whatever comes to the conscious mind will fade away spontaneously. Such experiences may be marvelously beautiful, but they are limited to a certain extent. Whatever comes must go. The attachment to such state of experiences is a bondage to our liberation. So, whenever conscious mind accepts everything and allows everything to flow, it steps into liberation. Liberation means liberation from effort, liberation from future, and liberation from struggle. In the state of liberation, we will not reject or struggle against our fear or sorrow. In the same way, we will not run after pleasure which may come either from sensual one or spiritual practice. We will feel that we are not attached to anything. This kind of liberation does not have any feeling of escape. It comes as the ability to face our feelings, since we understand that all our actions against our feeling are nothing but escapes. Because all our struggle against our feelings is nothing but a waste of energy. The liberation means the opening of our mind towards all our feelings. This is the understanding of enlightenment. This understanding is a simple thing. The other thing required here is that we must understand that we have understood what enlightenment is. It means that we must understand that we have understood. In ancient times, the masters known as gurus were regarded with great importance. The duty of a guru did not stop with teaching the truth to the students. He had another responsibility of giving confirmation to the students who understood the truth. In the same way, it is not enough if one understands the truth of what enlightenment is. He must confirm himself that he has understood what enlightenment is. There is a story in the ancient spiritual literature. In that one was going to a mountain in search of a precious diamond known as Chintamani. He was told that finding such a diamond was very difficult and that it might take many years. Keeping all these instructions in mind, the person went searching up a mountain. He was very fortunate to find the diamond within an hour. But he came to a foolish conclusion that the diamond he had got within an hour would not be the precious one. Thinking so, he threw away the precious diamond and started searching for something else for years. What we have found out is the understanding of enlightenment. We have to test it and confirm it by ourselves. Let us see another simple example. I have a small piece of paper in my hand. When it falls down from my hand, I will not feel any loss of weight because the paper is weightless. But if I carry an object of heavy weight, the falling away of it from my hand can easily be noticed because I can easily identify the loss of weight. That is the reason said in the spiritual literatures that sorrow and suffering will take you easily to truth. We are always conscious of something or the other. Our consciousness is moving from one conscious experience to another. As we have seen in the analogy, our ordinary consciousness is like a weightless paper. So, it does not attract our attention as a serious one. We do not give importance to such consciousness. But if the consciousness which we experience is a sorrow, we feel the pain of it. We will take it seriously as it is painful. We cannot but take it seriously. The nature of every consciousness is to flow. everything moves. Our thoughts are moving, our feelings are moving, our consciousness is also moving. If we approach it positively to retain it or negatively to remove it, we make it to take a vicious circle around itself. Otherwise, whatever be the consciousness, it will flow away and disappear. It comes, it flows, and it fades away as it comes. But when we approach it through our likes and dislikes, the regular flow of the consciousness is disturbed. When we want to remove our sorrow, the sorrow gets life and gets itself separated from the regular flow. In the same way, if we want to retain our pleasure, we get it separated from the regular flow. As we have seen, our ordinary consciousness is like a weightless paper. Our consciousness is moving every moment. The moving and the changing of the ordinary consciousness will not be noticed by us, as in the case of the fall of a weightless paper. But it is not so in the case of sorrow. When we are in sorrow, we feel the weight of it, because it takes a vicious circle instead of flowing. So, we feel the weight of our consciousness if it is in the form of sorrow or any other pain. When the understanding operates, we allow everything to flow. We will not stop anything through our likes and dislikes. In our ignorance, we stop things from the regular flow of our consciousness. Allowing everything to flow is the real intelligence. It is the understanding. When we allow our sorrow or pain to flow, we will feel relieved. We will feel a loss of weight. The flow of ordinary consciousness will not cause a feeling of release, because there is no suffering and its release. But in the case of sorrow and suffering, the flow of consciousness will cause a feeling of relief. We will feel the loss of weight. Thereby, we can easily identify that the understanding is in operation within ourselves. The understanding which causes our consciousness to flow is the understanding for enlightenment. Enlightenment is nothing but allowing everything to flow. Allowing our consciousness to flow is enlightenment. If we think that enlightenment would be a peculiar state of consciousness, it is nothing but a deception of ourselves. Retaining a state of consciousness is ignorance, and allowing all our consciousness to flow is enlightenment. If anyone has the pressing sorrow and mental agony, the relaxation comes through the total acceptance of the conscious mind. It will make him know that he has understood. In the same way, one who is earnest in his spiritual approach can also get the same confirmation that he has understood. The personal discussion with enlightened persons also gives one the reliable clarity of such understanding. Thereby, one can easily get the confirmation. If it is confirmed, then it is forever.